James Thomson was a Scottish poet and playwright, known for his masterpiece The Seasons and the lyrics of Rule, Britannia. Scotland, 1700 to 1725. James Thomson was born in Ednam in Roxburghshire around the 11th of September 1700 and baptised on the 15th of September. He was the fourth of 9 children of Thomas Thomson and Beatrix Thomson. Beatrix Thomson was born in Fogo, Berwickshire, and was a distant relation of the House of Hume. Thomas Thomson was the Presbyterian minister of Ednam until 8 weeks after Thomson's birth, when he was admitted as minister of Southdean, where Thomson spent most of his early years. Thomson may have attended the parish school of Southdean before going to the grammar school in Jedburgh in 1712. He failed to distinguish himself there. Shields, his earliest biographer, writes, "Far from appearing to possess a sprightly genius, was considered by his schoolmaster and those which directed his education, as being really without a common share of parts." He was, however, encouraged to write poetry by Robert Rickletoun, a farmer, poet and Presbyterian minister, and Sir William Bennet, a Whig lad who was a patron of Allan Ramsay. While some early poems by Thomson survive, he burned most of them on New Year's Day each year. Thomson entered the College of Edinburgh in autumn 1715, destined for the Presbyterian ministry. At Edinburgh he studied metaphysics, logic, ethics, Greek, Latin and natural philosophy. He completed his arts course in 1719 but chose not to graduate, instead entering Divinity Hall to become a minister. In 1716 Thomas Thomson died, with local legends saying that he was killed whilst performing an exorcism. At Edinburgh Thomson became a member of the Grotesque Club, a literary group, and he met his lifelong friend David Mallet. After the successful publication of some of his poems in the Edinburgh Miscellany, Thomson followed Mallet to London in February 1725 in an effort to publish his verse. London, 1725 to 1727. In London, Thomson became a tutor to the son of Charles Hamilton, Lord Binning, through connections on his mother's side of the family. Through David Mallet, by 1724 a published poet, Thomson met the great English poets of the day including Richard Savage, Aaron Hill and Alexander Pope. Thomson's mother died on the 12th of May 1725, around the time of his writing Winter, the first poem of The Seasons. Winter was first published in 1726 by John Million, with a second edition being released later the same year. By 1727, Thomson was working on Summer, published in February, and was working at Watts Academy, a school for young gentlemen and a bastion of Newtonian science. In the same year Million published a poem by Thomson titled A Poem to the Memory of Sir Isaac Newton. Leaving Watts Academy, Thomson hoped to earn a living through his poetry, helped by his acquiring several wealthy patrons including Thomas Rundle, the Countess of Hertford, and Charles Talbot, 1st Baron Talbot. Later life, 1728 to 1748. He wrote Spring in 1728 and finally Autumn in 1730, when the set of 4 was published together as The Seasons. During this period he also wrote other poems, such as To the Memory of Sir Isaac Newton, and his first play, The Tragedy of Sophonisba. The latter is best known today for its mention in Samuel Johnson's Lives of the English Poets, where Johnson records that one feeble line of the poem, O Sophonisba, Sophonisba, O, was parodied by the wags of the theatre as, O Jemmy Thomson, Jemmy Thomson, O. In 1730, he became tutor to the son of Sir Charles Talbot, then Solicitor General, and spent nearly 2 years in the company of the young man on a tour of Europe. On his return Talbot arranged for him to become a secretary in Chancery, which gave him financial security until Talbot's death in 1737. Meanwhile, there appeared his next major work, Liberty. In 1740, he collaborated with Mallet on the Masque Alfred, which was first performed at Cliveden, the country home of Frederick, Prince of Wales. Thomson's words for "Rule Britannia," written as part of that masque and set to music by Thomson, became one of the best-known British patriotic songs, quite apart from the masque, which is now virtually forgotten. The Prince gave him a pension of £100 per annum. He had also introduced him to George Lyttelton, who became his friend and patron. In later years, Thomson lived in Richmond-upon-Thames, and it was there that he wrote his final work, The Castle of Indolence, which was published just before his untimely death on the 27th of August 1748. Johnson writes about Thomson's death: by taking cold on the water between London and Kew, he caught a disorder, which, with some careless exasperation, ended in a fever that put end to his life. He is buried in St. Mary Magdalene Church in Richmond. A dispute over the publishing rights to one of his works, The Seasons, gave rise to two important legal decisions in the history of copyright. Thomson's The Seasons was translated into German by Berthold Heinrich Brockers. This translation formed the basis for a work with the same title by Gottfried van Swieten, which became the libretto for Haydn's oratorio The Seasons. Memorials. Thomson is one of the 16 Scottish poets and writers appearing on the Scott Monument on Princes Street in Edinburgh. He appears on the right side of the east face. Editions: Thomson, James and Amp. Bloomfield, Robert. The Seasons and Amp. Castles of Indolence, The Farmer's Boy, Rural Tales, Banks of the Wye, and Amp. C. and Amp. C. Gilfillan, Rev. George. Thomson's Poetical Works, with Life, Critical Dissertation, and Explanatory Notes. Library edition of the British Poets. Thomson, James. The Seasons, by ... A new edition, adorned with a set of engravings from original paintings, together with an original life of the author, and a critical essay on the Seasons, by Robert Herrin. Thomson, James. Poems, edited by William Bain, London, Walter Scott Publishing Co. Thomson, James. The Seasons, edited with introduction and commentary by James Sambrook, ISBN 0-19812713-8. Thomson, James. Liberty, The Castle of Indolence and Other Poems, edited with introduction and commentary by James Sambrook, ISBN 0-19812759-6. Bain, William. Life of James Thomson, Edinburgh, Oliphant, Anderson and Ferrier, 1898. Bibliography. Tovey, Duncan Crooks. Thomson, James. In Chisholm, Hugh. Encyclopaedia Britannica. 26. Cambridge University Press. Thomson, James. Dictionary of National Biography. London, Smith, Elder and Amp. Co. 1885-1900. Sambrook, James. Thomson, James. Oxford Dictionary of National Biography. Oxford University Press. DOI 10.1093, Ref. ODNB 27306.